The Caprivi group hearings continue tomorrow, and we will again have a full report the week after next. But we stay in KwaZulu-Natal for our next report. During the past 18 months, the families of missing anti-apartheid activists have urged the Truth Commission to uncover the truth about the disappearances. Were they dead or alive? If they did, who killed them? And where are their remains? Pieces of this grisly puzzle are slowly falling into place as police killers confess to the murders in their amnesty applications and lead the Truth Commission to the secret graves. On Wednesday this week, we accompanied a small team of Truth Commission investigators in their search for yet another grave. This time to Ixopo, as they searched for the remains of missing ANC member Blessing Ninela.
It was not the first time that TRC investigators had to dig for the truth in the killing fields of KwaZulu-Natal. The first secret graves of murdered anti-apartheid activists were discovered on the Elandskop dairy farm near Pietermaritzburg in March this year. The skeletal remains of Beki Makwanazi, Mbova Mzimela and Pila Ndwandwe were discovered in unmarked graves. All of them were members of the Mkhonto Wisizwe cell, the butterfly unit. They'd all been murdered by policemen in 1988. For years, their families had no idea what had happened to them. But 5 weeks after their remains were exhumed, the families of Pila Ndwandwe and her butterfly unit comrades were granted the wish of many families who've appeared before the TRC. The opportunity to reclaim their children's bones and lay them to rest with love and dignity. Wednesday this week, TRC investigators searched for the remains of ANC activists Blessing Ninela after the amnesty applications of notorious security branch operatives Andy Taylor, Laurie Wasserman and Sam de Preer lead them to this pauper's graveyard. Like Pila Ndwandwe, Ninela was also a member of MK's butterfly unit. He too was kidnapped, tortured and slain by security branch members in 1988.
He was abducted with the aid of askaris and then taken to the Bulwer area where he was shot at a railway line and his body was then blown up. And specifically his hands and face were blown off, thereby making it impossible to identify him. He was then given a pauper's burial.
Another reason that Ninela's security branch killers blew his body to pieces with a limpet mine was to create the impression that he'd killed himself while trying to blow up the railway track here at Bulwer Station.
At the time the deceased was found at Bulwer, a thorough investigation was launched by the police in the belief that it was in fact a terrorist who was blowing up the railway line. As a result thereof, a number of photographs were taken, including photographs of the deceased and his clothing, etc.
As the exhumation gets underway, the photographs and post-mortem report provide vital clues in the search for Ninela's grave. State pathologist Dr. Segrun Ayer and the TRC investigators know that the skeletal remains they're looking for will have no left arm, no hands, a shattered skull, badly torn clothes. The digging goes on for hours as one unmarked grave after the other is opened and inspected. The Ninela family watch and wait patiently. After inspecting 9 graves, there's still no sign of the young activist's remains. TRC investigators are ready to call it a day. Then they decide to open a 10th grave.
Our man, I think. No, it's our man, I think. Yeah. So we're going to take this thing out intact. Carefully.
Finally, after 6 hours of digging and more than 8 years of waiting, Blessing Ninela's relatives are confident that they finally uncovered the truth. Like pieces of a puzzle found in this anonymous grave, they immediately recognize bits of Ninela's hair, his soiled shirt, his torn sheepskin jacket. As expected, the pathologist finds parts of a skull, a few ribs, bones, no hands. Suddenly, everyone is quiet. There's an eerie silence around the graveside, a sign of respect for the dead.
Everything is according to the description on the picture. So based on that, I'm happy they can stop digging.
The clothing seems to have been damaged in a way which would be consistent with the injuries that the deceased sustained.
Send it to ballistics.
Yeah.
And test for any trace of gunpowder.
Getting his remains is the most important thing for us. We're still going through, it's not an easy thing, that I can say. So we're still going through the whole thing.
Blessing Ninela's relatives will soon reclaim his remains and give him a dignified burial. But for numerous other families of murdered or missing activists, there are still many mysteries to unravel. Many skeletons still buried in the pages of policemen's amnesty applications. Haunting questions about South Africa's past. Just how many graves, how many skulls, how many dark secrets are still waiting to be unearthed from this country's unmarked graves or so-called death farms?